right, hey guys, how's it going? So today is the big day. Today is the first step of step one. Today is header install day, and I am pumped. Of course, I say that now. I mean, in 5 hours from now, I'm going to be saying how much I hate my life and everything sucks. But for right now, this second, I'm pretty pumped.
That's a win.
Hey there, guys. Okay, so just a couple things that I wanted to clear up about this header install. Some weird misinformation or things that I had heard when looking around on forums or various YouTube channels, trying to figure out if I wanted to do these headers by myself because I have no real experience doing exhaust, and decided that I would tackle it. But a couple of things that were kind of floating around there made me think twice about doing it myself, and I wish that I hadn't even read it because it just simply isn't true. So, first things first, on the driver's side. Everybody says the driver's side's easier. The driver's side does have a little more room. In the instructions for the Stainless Works headers, it does tell you that right up here, this steering shaft, it said you would have to unbolt it and move it out of the way to put your header up. That is not true. If you have an 09, if you have an 09 5.7 Hemi, I've got a manual transmission, although to be honest with you, I don't think where the transmission is going to bolt up, even if it was an automatic, is going to make any kind of difference as to how this is going to fit. Literally, when you put the header in, if you tilt it one way, if you tilt it so it's skinny to fit up into place up here, you can literally tuck it in, and as you tuck it in, you rotate it, and it fits perfectly without having to remove the steering shaft here. So that's one thing. No, you don't have to move the steering shaft to install your headers. That's false. The other thing is it says that you might have to move the engine mounts. Now, some people on some of the forums said that they had to move both the driver's side and the passenger side motor mounts to be able to bolt up these headers. That is also not true. You definitely don't have to on the driver's side. You've got more than enough room. On the passenger side, I could see where people would tell you that you'd have to, because on the one bolt that is right in front of that motor mount, you can't fit your socket in. Well, you kind of can. If you could fit your socket in, but then once you start untightening it even a quarter inch, you can't get your socket out. And the problem is that bolt has an extra threaded part coming out of it, which is what the heat shield would bolt onto. So you need a deep socket, which means that it's going to take up just the perfect amount of room so that your socket will get wedged in there. So the problem is that your socket gets stuck and then you can't get your socket out. So there's two ways to solve this. Now, you could do it the way I did it, and I took a 13 millimeter, where is it? Somewhere. Probably on this side. Yep. You could take a 13 millimeter speed wrench, put your speed wrench end on there, and you can crank up about 2 to 3 clicks at a time. Now, people who have probably tried this and probably didn't work for them, and that's why they decided to take out that motor mount so that they could get their socket back in there. If you seat your wrench all the way back on the bolt, then the top of the wrench hits the manifold and the bottom of it doesn't have room to move either. So that means that you can't move your wrench, and you'd think that, okay, well, this isn't going to work. But if you pull it forward on the bolt a little so it's just barely on the bolt, it'll give you enough room that you can click 3 down, 3 down, 3 down. Now it sucks because you can barely move it and it takes you probably 10 to 12 minutes to get one stupid bolt out. But it works, and you don't have to move the motor mount. Now the other thing that I wish that I'd thought of doing was maybe taking a Sawzall and cutting the top threaded part of that bolt off, because you don't need it anymore. You're not going to reuse the bolt, and you're not going to reinstall that heat shield. So I kind of wish I just cut that and then tried using a smaller socket just over the bolt so that my socket and ratchet could fit in there, and then maybe crank down. But hindsight's 2020. Bottom line is a 13 mil will still work, and you don't need to remove either of the motor mounts at all. It should fit just fine. Now I noticed on the passenger side that the sidewall here, there is slightly less room than on the driver's side, but the principle for putting the header in place was exactly the same. Rotate it up so that it's the skinniest, if that makes sense. You rotate it so that it takes up the least amount of room widthwise, even though it's not technically facing the right way. You put it up there just to get it by, and as you're getting close to the engine block, then you start spinning it. You start rotating it in, and those collectors come and meet up to where they go on the block. Totally fine. Don't need to modify anything. Don't need to take apart anything else. And further on that note, my headers are ceramic coated. I went out and got them ceramic coated. So because they're ceramic coated, I couldn't risk scratching the crap out of them. So I had to be really careful. And even without scratching them and doing it on my back, on the floor of my garage, I could still get them in, no problem, without removing anything on both sides, without removing motor mounts, without uncoupling my steering. Yeah, the only thing that I did have to do was remove my dipstick because it was in the way on that passenger side. Here we go, moment of truth. That's it. Now it's time to take this thing up for a rip and see just what tuned headers can do. I'm sure there'll be way more wheel up than I can handle.